What's up, everybody? Franco Valkyria. Welcome to the channel. Let's talk about this. I'm sure most of you have seen the interview of Dateline, the full interview, which we have been busy all week with different snippets, and then we got the full 40 minutes plus interview. One thing that I noticed though is that in those earlier snippets that we reviewed, there were parts which were kept out from the final interview. There was especially a part where AH says domestic v survivor, they don't have the resources that you and me have. So certain parts were taken out. There was also other things which were taken out, which I find it interesting because he made it sort of the final interview a little bit kind of endearing to her. So another part that really pissed me off, I have to admit, and we go through it in a second. The first one was the claim of AH when Savannah Guthrie actually told her that JD has never been accused by anyone of his ex-wife or girlfriends, right? Matter of fact, many came forward in support, including Kate Moss on the stand. But still, after being found guilty, she went on national TV and said, look at what happened to me coming forward. Would they? Something like that. Basically implying that JD ex-girlfriends or wife did not come forward because look at what happened to me by doing so. Alleging basically that JD still is a wife something, you know, the wife bad guy, like the son said, unfortunately. And that all those women were victim of JD. So that's a bold statement right there. And it pissed me off because, again, she's alluding to something bigger here, rewriting the narrative. Another thing that really annoyed me was somewhere towards the end or in the middle of the interview where there was this journalist with the bangs, the black hair. I don't know if it was from New York Times or New York something, or Times New York Magazine or something like that. And she just straight out blamed the social media behavior to misogyny. That's it. Like, literally she said that. And I'm surprised they included that in the interview just to make sure that the audience, you know, that which are not familiar with what happened in the trial, they can go the way of like, you see, everybody that is more like sort of leaning towards the extremity of those movements, feminist, Me Too, those that are more on the extreme, they need nothing more than hear like a journalist from the New York Times or whatever there was saying like, blame it on misogyny. That was really pissed me off. I don't know the name of the woman. I don't even want to give her hair. The mountain of evidence which they couldn't present in this trial, and then they presented in the interview, which were basically literally a text sent to her father, which, yeah, make of that whatever you want, and piles of self-reporting to therapists, which also that it's not being confounded proved, it's not being like verified because the therapist didn't come forward, was not interviewed, was not called on the stand. So some people have come forward saying that those are not really notes that people usually make as a therapist, and nobody writes this type of like storyline of entire events, more like trying to go through pointers with the patients. So yeah, make of that what you want, but they tried to drive that point home, and the headlines are going mostly with this text to the father and those self-report of therapists as new evidence, so to speak. So again, another attempt of rewriting the story here. And ask yourself, do you think that Bill Cosby, I don't know, but do you think that Bill Cosby, a week or so after the trial, the verdict, had time to go on national TV and talk? I don't know. Or like Harvey Weinstein. So they're giving a platform to this person immediately, right away, because they want the scoop. And she's found guilty. She's found guilty of defaming Johnny Depp. She was found to be a liar, and she's still going on national TV retelling those lies, retelling the story from whatever perspective or parallel universe she's in. So keep that in mind when you see this interview. Don't forget that. So I find it very strange that those people are giving her this platform like that. And of course, we are reacting of it, but actually it's good that we react, even if you're fed up with it, because if there isn't counterbalance voices, the headlines, they will get away with what they're trying to do, which is writing the story. So don't forget that. Don't forget that also when she said in the interview, I took for granted what I assumed is my right to speak, not just about what I lived through, but what I knew. I'm terrified, which is what I guess a defamation lawsuit is meant to do. It's meant to take your voice. To give some context, Doug Stanhope, which is a comedian and a good friend, very good friend of Johnny Depp, back in the day in 2016 came out with an interview literally saying that she was basically keeping JD hostage, that JD was basically prisoner of this woman, and they did not tell him anything because they were afraid of being kicked out of the circle, and also because they feared that by telling the truth they perceived, of this woman basically just damaging him and him being the victim, by siding against her, they were afraid of losing the connection, or also that he would side with her instead of with the friends. So what she does, she started a lawsuit against Doug Stanhope for defamation. Keep that in mind. It's all black and white. It's all out there already in 2016. So actions speak louder than words. So believe what you see and what you heard. Greg Ellis, very good. I agree with you. That's why I put this up. Another point were like, I passed by city blocks of people holding signs of things that I could not repeat in court. NBC, the only thing they could find out of those signs around was H is a liar and hearsay, which has not even anything to do with her, but this is what they found. So I found this interesting. I showed probably yesterday this part. This is before the interview, and it's interesting that they give JD an ultimatum through a spokesperson here. If Mr. Depp or his team have problem with this interview, basically, we recommend that Johnny himself sit down with Savannah Guthrie for an hour and answer all her question, a spokesperson to the dailymail.com. After a series of clips from the interview were aired on Today on Appeal, in which H branded Depp 59 again a liar, again defaming him, and doubled down on claims that he and all of that in a relationship. So she forgets that Johnny is really moving on with his life. His point was to reclaim, first of all, I suppose, his sanity and his name. Because, oh man, I can only imagine going into this circular argument that she actually still doing. She's still going after JD. The thing also that pisses me most off is the fact that they're taking away the victory from this guy. Still, the mainstream media, by giving her space, all the headlines being vague or in her favor, they're basically saying that JD cannot be a victim because he's a man, and still, even after the jury voted it basically in his favor, and she was found guilty, they're still taking away the victory from him. They're still insinuating that he's a man, therefore cannot be a true victim. This is what those headlines basically are implying, and this is also what the interview of 40 minutes on NBC is trying to imply a little bit. So even if Savannah Guthrie asked some strong questions, and she basically, like always, as an answer for everything, not taking responsibility for nothing, absolutely nothing. And the end of the interview, she reiterated again what the lawyer said in the beginning, the day after the trial ended, the verdict came out, that she's afraid for those women which now they will not come out. And I think this is the big misunderstanding, because she's still sort of representing her as if she was a spokesperson for every DV survivor out there. And what we have learned actually through my audience, through the audience of YouTubers, of bigger YouTubers, of a lot of the people which they're following this, it's actually that, first of all, majority of people reacting actually are female, like on my channel. Literally the last month, 70% of the audience is female. So female are in support of JD victory and against this person, because they see very clearly through the BS, and she's not speaking for them, and this is her case. Definitely, I think what this will do in the long run, it's actually helping also men, which they are victim as well, and allow them to come forward, both men and women. So we have to keep talking, because as you can see from the notes, the time span of the incident goes further and further back in time with their allegation. So the story is always continuously changing, and without a counter voice of other people, YouTuber reacting to those headlines and their attempt of rewriting the narrative, they might succeed. They might succeed, and it's shameful. It's absolutely shameful, and it's not something that we can permit from happening. We have to avoid that at all costs, because life is already quite confusing, and if we let a villain get away with this, we all lose. We all do. So guys, anyway, I always spread love. I see you in another video. Take care of yourself. Please subscribe. Ciao.